Hi, I'm Elena, a senior profile expert with MBA and beyond, and today I'm going to talk to you about branding. So most people don't know why branding is such a big part of the MBA application or why it's even necessary, and we're going to discuss that. Okay, so branding, it's the foundation for your entire application. So pretty important, right? Everything from your essays to your interviews, your resumes, your letter of recommendation, they should all align with your brand. This is what creates collinearity in an application. And that is something admission committees really need to see, especially with competitive MBA programs. It's how you stand out from the competition. So, okay, we know the importance of building a brand. So why is it so difficult? Honestly, that's mostly because people's expectations versus the reality, those things usually don't align. Most people think that their brand is going to just magically appear as they're working on their essays or working on their resume, that they will see their brand naturally develop in these things and there will be a natural consistency. That's not the reality. That's not normally what happens. What happens is people decide how they want to present themselves, much the same way I'm presenting in this video. And then something happens. In this case, the lighting changed. It was a little disconcerting, right? Your eyes had to make an adjustment. Your brain took a minute to say what's going on, what's happening. That's not something you want to have happen when an admissions committee is reviewing your application. Having them feel disconcerted, not ideal. So that's why it's important to put a lot of intentionality into building your brand. You don't want inconsistencies or ambiguities showing up in your application. That is a yellow, if not a red flag to admission committees. So that's why it's important to start now. We say start branding early, start working on your brand early, because if you do, not only are you going to have the collinearity in your entire application, but you're also going to have a chance to make adjustments or pivots in your personal or professional life that align with your brand, thereby strengthening your MBA candidacy. So let's take a look at what that would look like for a client working with MBA and beyond. When a client onboards with us, they get access to our online dashboard or portal called Mirror. Mirror is how clients navigate through our process, and it's also how they get extra tools and resources to help them build a competitive application. Because again, not only do they have the help of a consultant and application buddy, they get to be kind of their own consultant too, because no one is a better expert in you than you. So we're focusing on branding. So we're going to talk about steps 3 through 5. So step 3, content gathering. Now, content gathering, it's kind of like it sounds. It is where we encourage you to gather content in certain areas. What we did at MBA and Beyond is we took our collective areas of expertise when it comes to MBA admissions. And let me click here. We created a variety of topics and subjects for you to answer questions on. And what this is designed to do is to get you thinking about the exact areas of interest that an MBA admissions committee will ask about either in essays or in interviews. So you'll see everything from goals, achievements, international experience, extracurriculars, etc. And then of course there's videos from our founder and little tips on how to answer these different questions. So once you've done content gathering, you of course meet with your consultant to talk about what areas you need to expand on, any topics that need more detail or that particularly stand out to them. And once you've done this, you can actually get started on branding. So let's look at a sample branding template. So once a client has filled out all the questions in content gathering, they're able to build their brand with their consultant. So you see here that this is a brand from an actual client, and this client is interested in clean tech. So let's keep that in mind as we go forward through kind of this case study here. Okay, so they filled out content gathering and have built this brand. So let's look at the client. They are someone who enjoys new challenges. They have a take charge attitude. They really value personal development. You see here that their short-term goals are to get into operations or project management in a global firm, be at the forefront of sustainable innovation, and their long-term goal is to have a contribution in reducing waste, emissions, a carbon footprint. They want to work towards a greener future, introduce clean technologies, etc. And then you also see that they have opportunities for growth. Or growth areas, which is, again, something you will see or be asked about in some MBA admissions essays. So this is going to serve as the cornerstone for their application. Now, let's look at how this will impact something like school alignment or building a school list. Now, remember how we built the brands for the clients? Okay, so here's a sample school list for them. Notice that we've chosen various schools based on how they align with that client's brand. So for instance, McCombs has a clean tech concentration in their MBA program. They're also known for having a particularly entrepreneurial mindset. Again, very much like our client. For UNC's Keenan Flagler MBA program, their essays primarily focus on career goals. So this is going to be a good fit for somebody who's very clear on both their short and long-term goals. They're going to be able to answer those essays pretty easily. For a school like Duke or Fuqua, they're known for being very community-oriented, and the candidate has a lot of extracurriculars. How do we know this? Not just through their resume, but because of their content gathering, because of what they filled out. We are able to identify that that's one of their strengths, is their involvement in various extracurriculars. So they're going to make a good match for Duke. Then you have maybe a dream school like Stanford. They have a new sustainability program, and they're known for having very ambitious candidates. And the candidate has said that they want to work in this field, maybe on a global scale. Well, Stanford obviously has global name recognition, which is going to be very important to this candidate. And then you have somewhere like Ross, where their goals or their essays are on goals and self-awareness, and the candidate has good clarity on both. Again, how do we know this? Not just through conversation with them, but from all the content gathering that they have done. This is how we get insight into the candidate. This is how we help them build their brand. This is how we're going to build school alignment. And once we've done this, the candidate is going to be able to take this and apply it to different areas of their life, even beyond just the school list. So let's talk about that. Remember those alignments for all the schools we saw, all the different kind of features or traits or components that aligned well with the client's brand? Well, think about a school like Duke, right? Duke really emphasizes the importance of community, which we stated, and again, the client has good extracurriculars. But let's say they didn't have very good extracurriculars, or their extracurriculars were more focused on entrepreneurship, which is great for McCombs, but weren't particularly community-oriented, which is what Duke would like to see. Well, if they're starting to work on their brand early, they have time to develop those extracurriculars. They have time to get involved in maybe more community-oriented activities. And that's going to reflect well later on when they are submitting their resume or discussing in interviews or answering those essays. They're going to have very applicable types of activities to discuss because they had time to develop it. Same goes for, again, something like McCombs or even Stanford, both of which very much like the entrepreneur type of candidate. So when you're starting to build your brand early, you get to see these types of alignments and see what areas of your life you can make some adjustments so that you can strengthen your candidacy. On top of that, building relationships with your recommenders, for example. Somebody who's going to write your letter of recommendation, their letter better align with your brand, because just like that whole light on, light off thing, having something that is disconcerting like an inconsistency, big yellow flag in admissions. So if you are really trying to talk about how collaborative you are in your essays, and your recommender talks about how well you work independently, neither of those things are bad. Both are good traits, but they're inconsistent. And that in itself, you don't want to see. So in order to have a more consistent brand, and have it be presented well in all parts of the application, something you could do is create mentorship meetings with the person you plan on asking to write your letters of recommendation. Being able to initiate something like regular mentorship meetings can help strengthen that relationship. And if it's done over time, again, they're going to know you and your goals and your brand very well by the time it's at the point where they need to submit their letter of recommendation. So, again, all of these are reasons why starting to work on your brand early is extremely valuable. It can make a huge difference in your candidacy, it can make a huge difference in your applications. And it's something that is not dependent on a GMAT or GRE score. So we have a lot of clients who will start early on building their brand and making those pivots or relationship changes, etc., in their personal or professional life as they're studying for their GMAT or GRE. And so once they get that GMAT or GRE, they're able to start building their school list, etc., with already their brand in place, with their resume already being bolstered by choices they've made based on that brand. So it can take actually a lot of stress off you as you're preparing for your GMAT or GRE, because you're not feeling like it's all down to just that component. You know you have this other extremely valuable and strong component in your MBA application. So that's a little bit about MBA and beyond and branding. And if you have any questions, remember, we're here to help. We're here to help you meet your MBA goals. And we look forward to talking with you.